Hey everybody, we're going to give you the NFL picks up front here. Great episode this morning. Please listen to it because we've got some fun stuff in here. We go through a whole John Morant analysis, even though it's an NFL episode. And at the end, Andrew and I give some basketball picks for the day as well. Talk a whole bunch of card stuff, you name it. But a great slate of games. I want to make sure that you have the picks right up front here in case you're running against a time crunch to get your picks in. Don't fall out of your seat when I say this first one. Jets +7. Give me the Jets and the touchdown. You got the Texans -7. Colts +1.5. The Bears -8.5. Give me the Ravens -9.5. The Falcons +11. Give me the Chargers -3. Carolina Panthers getting 1 point. The Rams +1 at the Seahawks. Give me the Rams plus the point. Give me the Cowboys +3. And in the night game, Green Bay -3. Enjoy the games today, guys. Thanks for listening. And like I said, stay tuned. This one's a fun one. It's only about an hour episode. We go through the games. Lots of fun games in the NFL today, but there's some fun stuff in there, NBA, and we hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Luca Nation. This might be is this our last? No, we have one more week of NFL preview. But this is a big week because this is a fantasy football final week, right?
Yep.
And unless you're playing Alvin Kamara, you basically still have a shot.
Here's my thing, right? They got the ball with like a minute and a half left in that game, that Saints game. They were up, what was it? I don't know. They were up huge. There was no more of a game. They got the ball at the 40-yard line, and it was victory formation against the Vikings, and they just took 3 knees. But can you go to the sideline and just say to the Vikings, guys, we're gonna give the ball to Kamara again, just let him score and get the 7th one. This way, you don't have to say he's tied with some dude no one's ever heard of from 1929 with 6 touchdowns. Can you just give him the 7th? You just hand him the ball, let him get another one, whatever.
That's kind of insane in a professional football game score 6 touchdowns. But Luca Nation, let's kick it off. We got a beautiful slate of games today, Cage.
We got some fun ones.
We do have some fun ones. We have NBA as well. Full slate of NBA games, which is kind of crazy. Which one caught your eye? It's pretty evenly split. 1 p.m. games and 4 p.m. games.
Listen, here's the deal, right? There are a couple of fun games that I like on this one. We'll touch them as we go. We'll do the 1 o'clocks, right? I mean, there's less 1 o'clock games than we usually have. It's only 6 because we've seen a bunch of holiday games, right? We had games late yesterday. We had my Raiders managed to go from 6-3 to now 7-8. I think they went 1-5 to close out last season. They have a chance to go 1-6 to close out this season. I mean, just a really impressive second half team that they've become.
Did you watch that game yesterday?
Yeah, how they're able to snatch
Talk about the
from the
ending.
jaws of victory, right? Snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. They've managed to do this a couple times, and if not for that Hail Mary against the Jets, they'd be really looking at like a 6-10 season. Yeah, I mean, listen, there are. I mean, people call it cerebral, right? I mean, and you could always second guess, but I will tell you, I was screaming at the television while it was going on. But there's overcoaching, there's overthinking. You have all these things that go on now. People running out of bounds, preserving the clock. You name it. The Raiders had a minute and change left. They were driving down 2, and the Dolphins couldn't stop them. They get to the 1-yard line, and obviously a field goal puts them up by a point. They get to the 1-yard line, and it's 3rd and goal from the 1 with approximately a minute left in the game. All right. So the Raiders have 2 options here. They can run the ball on 3rd and goal, punch it in the end zone, and take a 6 or 7 point lead if they score on the 2-point conversion. And give it over to Miami with a little less than a minute left, or they can do what they did. This is what I consider overcoaching, overthinking, a little too much gamesmanship. Instead of running the ball, which I don't know why they just didn't run the ball anyway, but instead of running the ball on 3rd and goal from the 1, they let the clock run down to whatever, and they take a knee. And that allows because Miami doesn't have more timeout, they let the clock run again until approximately 30 seconds left in the game, and they kick a field goal to go up by 2 instead of going up by a touchdown. Now they're up by 2, and they basically took 30 extra seconds off the clock by doing it that way.
Would you say that has something to do with John Gruden not trusting his defense, or do you think there's the perception of that?
So yes, it definitely has to do with not trusting the defense, but there's not trusting your defense to bend, and there's not touching your defense to break, right? So if you go up by 6 or 7, right? You go up by 5 or 7, whatever it is, you know, depending on the 2-point conversion, your team now has to defend for slightly less than a minute against a touchdown. Very different getting in the end zone versus giving up a drive that gets you close enough for a long field goal.
To one of the best field goal kickers, to one of the best field goal kickers in the game too.
Right. So and their field goal kicker is very, very good. And 30 seconds, and that's a lot of time. It definitely is, but it's not like you were leaving them with 10 seconds. You were leaving them with enough time to get off a couple of plays. And of course, the first play, the Raiders do what the Raiders do best. Not only do they give up, there's no timeouts. They give up a long play down the sideline so the guy can get out of bounds, which is just absurd. It should never happen. But at the same time, they yank Fitzpatrick's face mask while he's throwing the ball, giving him an extra 15 yards. I mean, they're already in field goal range. One play, field goal range. I mean, it's just absurd. You can't make it up. It's typical Raider stuff.
And, you got to question John Gruden, right? Gage, a little bit. Like I've sung his praises all year, and they started out really well. But you got to question some of the decision making he's made down the stretch, right?
I have questioned many of his decisions, but ultimately, as the coach of the team here, you put a team together, and I guess the analytics will tell you that 30 seconds, is enough to run 4 plays, especially with no timeouts, or 3 plays with no timeouts, and that there shouldn't be enough time for them to get down the field, especially with your kicker, Carlson, who is going to put it out of the end zone. They got to go from the 25-yard line to basically, let's call it the 35. They got to pick up, what is that, 40 yards in 30 seconds. It's very hard to do. Obviously, not that hard when your defense is terrible. So, I mean, he, as a coach, has to rely on the fact that his defense should be able to be a team that can stop that, I would think. Probably 2. Go ahead.
Do you think, like, I hear analytics a lot, but, like, I feel like the issue with analytics is it depends on – here's what I mean. The analytics to win a game and the analytics to make the playoffs and then analytics to win a Super Bowl might be different, right?
True.
So what I mean by that is, in this game, he chose to take a knee and kick a field goal. And that might be the most optimal result to win the game. But if you take human psychology into effect, is that the most optimal way to make the playoffs? And what I mean, and be successful in the playoffs, because what kind of message are you also sending your team? And analytics can't capture that. And I think that's equally important. I think the best coaches and best teams are able to blend analytics and human psychology.
I like it.
Too heady for a Sunday morning?
No, I get it. I mean, I hear it a lot more in baseball, where they say that the best managers are a blend of analytics and gut. You know what I mean? And they say that you have to, you have to know your people, you have to know the situation. And, unfortunately, I feel like we only wind up having these conversations in hindsight. You know what I mean? I think the numbers win out most of the time, but those times where the managerial mistake goes with the numbers and it winds up costing them the game, or they wind up losing, those are the times where, we wind up kind of really questioning it's like a glaring mistake, right. You know what I mean?
Like if it's a 3-0 count, right, in baseball. Mm-hmm. The analytics say take the pitch, take it, right? Those things. But the manager gives the player a green light. Doesn't that build a relationship between the manager and the player?
Yeah,
doesn't he know that the manager has his back? And later on in the season, when things get a little bit more tight, when there's more pressure on the line, when it's the 8th or 9th inning, that sticks in that guy's head. He remembers that the manager believes in me. And I think that's a big deal.
There's something to be said about, like, players who were hot at the time, right? I use it in baseball much more often than football, right? Where, a manager knows a guy's going good or a guy's going bad. And sometimes the analytics will tell you, this guy, he's 0 for 5 against this pitcher. But if you've watched your guy go the last 3 days and he just can't miss, the baseball looks like a beach ball to him. He's mashing, he's raking. Why do you take him out of the lineup? I've seen Aaron Boone do it a bunch of times. He goes strictly by the analytics. And sometimes
he did that with your play. What's his name? The pitcher that pitched the first inning.
David Garcia.
David Garcia. And that was an interesting one. He brought in Jay Happ, and he got shelled. Torched. Yep. You know who at which team, and we'll get into the NFL plays here. I think the Heat do it really well. I think the Heat do it really, really well, where they draft and they assess talent based on analytics. But they also, like Duncan Robinson, they found that guy. Like that had to have been that was unbelievable. But they also let their guys roll. They also give them the freedom. Like Jimmy Butler is an analytics nightmare. But when the going gets tough, they'll feed him the rock because they know things change. They know Jimmy Butler in the fourth quarter isn't the same as a Jimmy Butler in the first 3. So this is a great topic, Cage. I'm glad you brought it up.
I like it, but I mean, I think you brought it up with the Raiders because you want to make fun of the Raiders, and they're terrible, and they should be made fun of.
Well, I wanted to ask you another question. You're the coach of the Dolphins. Who do you go with for the rest of the year?
It's weird watching what happened there. It's funny because what was the team? The team was 4-3 in shot for a playoff contention, and they switched over to Tua. And you're thinking like, wow, that's a tough spot to put the kid in. And then he goes 5-2, which is as a starter, which is just as good, if not better. 5-2 is better than 4-3, right? So they both have given them a shot to win. I was thinking about it yesterday. I would not mind going with matchups. I wouldn't mind depending on who you're playing against, and I wouldn't mind starting Tua and making sure Fitzpatrick is ready, getting some reps with the first team, and having some plays set up for him and keeping him ready. I mean, Fitzpatrick's not the kind of guy who normally comes off the bench and does this kind of stuff, right? I think that was his first come from behind from off the bench. I know he's had fourth quarter comebacks, but usually when he's a starter. I was thinking about it. It's funny because it wound up happening this way. I was thinking about it the other way. Derek Carr is a very good quarterback. He's not the problem with the Raiders, but I actually wanted to see Marcus Mariota. I mean, the Raiders are not playing for anything, although they're, quote, at 7-7, we're still in the hunt. I don't know how that's possible. You'd have to have basically the Ravens lose out, the Colts lose out, the Dolphins lose out. Obviously, now they're not in the playoff hunt anymore. But, don't you want to see what you have there with Mariota? I mean, you know what you have with Carr. You have a good quarterback who's not ever really going to win anything. Sorry, Vegas Dave. And your $1 million collection. But
who the Dolphins remind me of a little bit, who they could take a playbook out as they get into the playoffs? The Saints. I think Tua could be a Taysom Hill interest type of player.
Oh, now, people who have his card don't want to hear
that. I hear you, but I think the Saints are actually built on that defense. That defense is number 2 all around.
That,
The Dolphins have 23 straight games with a turnover. That's insane. That Dolphins defense is really what's carrying them.
They're both very opportunistic defenses. That's what I would call them, both of them.
Xavier Howard's a monster. But my point is, Drew Brees comes down and he moves the ball down the field, right? He's just a better pure quarterback. I think Fitzpatrick is a better quarterback than Tua, but Tua's more mobile. He throws kind of that slingshot lefty pass that Taysom Hill has. Lefties throw different, don't they?
They do. They look different.
And I think there's I don't think it's ever worked, but I think there's an interesting conversation to be had about a dual quarterback type of thing for the Dolphins, depending on the situation.
Listen, the NFL is, you would have thought 20 years ago if I told you that running back by committee would be the thing, you would have thought I was nuts. Right? Because it used to be just, give me that stud running back and build your game off of them. Emmitt Smith is going to be the guy who takes it. Roger Craig is going to be the guy who takes it.
Terrell Davis. Why don't we ever
talk about Terrell Davis? Going to be the guy who, John Elway should talk about him. He should have named his, his grandkids and great grandkids can be named after him because he's thought of as a great quarterback because Terrell Davis handed him two Super Bowls. But
thank you for saying that.
Yeah, Davis and Barry Sanders and those guys were the guys. I couldn't tell you who the second running back on their team was. But right now, running back by committee is the way to go. You don't really have a stud running back on these great teams. You have, elite, but you also have like a change of pace back. You have a third down pass catching back. I mean, most teams are built with multiple running backs. Who's to say the analytics don't tell you that the same type of thing should play? I mean, you might wind up seeing a third down quarterback. There might be a first and second down quarterback who's like your play action pass. I mean, who knows? I mean, you never know what analytics and coaching and all that stuff's going to do. Plus, if you start playing with two quarterbacks and one gets hurt, you still got the other one. So the game always changes.
I'm for it. And guys, what's cool here, Luka Nation, is you get a little bit of a preview of what Cage and I talk about when we call each other. We just have these conversations, and today you got fortunate enough to get it on record. Let's jump into the plays, Cage, okay? Yeah, I want to start with the Colts Steelers, since you didn't pick a game to start with. I wanted to start with two teams that you admire very much. You kind of remind me of Phillip Rivers. I'm more of a Juju Smith-Schuster guy. So who you got here?
So I remind you of Phillip Rivers? Is that what you just said? Because I have like no arm strength. Like I'm accurate with the dinks and the dunks. Because I make the $3 plays and you go for the bombs. Like what? Why?
Well, there was a time we were FaceTiming and you were having a catch with Ian, and I just wanted to say it there. I was like, you kind of throw like Phillip Rivers. It's actually not, but I just wanted to say it, and I kept that in my back pocket, and I dropped it at the perfect moment.
Phillip Rivers, what's funny is he looks like an old man out there, which is why I don't like the comparison. He looks like an old man, kind of limping around in the pocket and stuff, and yet he is one of the older quarterbacks in the league. But if you compare him to like Tom Brady and Drew Brees, he's younger than those guys, but he doesn't look as good in the pocket as them.
Well, he has 19 kids. That'll weigh on you.
Listen, here's the fun, right? Breeze and Brady got their Super Bowls. Mahomes got his Super Bowl. The quarterback class of, what was it? Was it 03? I think it's 03, 04. Is the Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, those guys were traded for each other, and Ben Roethlisberger. A lot of people think it's, the quarterback class like we have now with the Tua, Burrow, and Herbert, right? And we know Roethlisberger got his Super Bowl. We know Eli got his 2 Super Bowls, but Rivers hasn't won a Super Bowl. And people had high hopes for him this year. And I like it's.
Can you imagine if the hobby was as big as it was now in 2003? Those 2 draft classes.
Yeah, I mean there have been some
NBA
really good...
too. Yep. Think about the NBA draft class in 03, 04. And then you got. I don't like any of those 3 quarterbacks, frankly, but those are all 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, more than likely. Phillip Rivers, I think, has a little bit left to do to get in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, they're definitely all 3 of them Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Yeah, they're all good.
That's an unbelievable year. Imagine the hobby; it would be going crazy.
So let me throw one out there. I don't know if you're related to him, but Hammer and Hank Goldberg, Vegas legend, right? Yeah, this guy. He had a quote this week. In my research, I try to do as many.
He was I think he was the mailman in my area, maybe around 1988,
nice.
87.
There you go. All right, so he delivered the mail. Nice. So your mom's other man also was named Goldberg, is what you're trying to say? That's a lengthy joke.
I didn't say that. I did not. You said that, and that's
a lengthy joke.
We leave the mothers out of this. So I don't know why you went that direction.
But why would he be the mailman? How about the milkman? Do you know what the milkman is? Are you old enough to know what a milkman is?
Some jokes are better left open-ended, Cage. Just like a butterfly in the wind.
But I have to. I mean, are you really? The other man was also named Goldberg. So your mom has a type. Your mom's type is men named Goldberg. I get it. I appreciate it. It's great.
You literally ruined the joke. You might as well draw what I've just joked about and put it on screen.
Hold on, I'm drawing it right now. Hold on, I'm going to hold it up. I'm going to hold up the picture I'm drawing right now. So you know what he said? You know what, Hank? You're obviously your real dad. What he said? I thought maybe he'd be an uncle, dude. You took it in a dark place. He says
you took it in a dark place.
And I agree with him. You ready for this one? And I mean, it's only 2 weeks, so it's not that crazy. But he doesn't think the Steelers are going to win again. He thinks the Steelers went 11-0, and then they go on an 0-5 run to end the season out.
Wow.
He thinks we're going to go 11-5. He says that it's just a dysfunctional. He said, I think there's something wrong with Ben Roethlisberger. and the entire offense. And I can't really argue with them. I mean, I watched the last game. They look broken. I mean, that's the deal, right? I mean, they just look like there's something wrong there. They can't really move the ball the way they were moving it. Obviously, they were playing on the defense. The defense has a lot of injuries. They played some really close games in those 11, and they just don't look right. What's weird about this game is the spread started off with the Colts minus a point or a point and a half, and now I see it in certain places. Colts getting as much as 2, like William Hill's 2. The spread you and I use, it's Colts plus 1.5. To me, it doesn't matter. I think the Colts win the game outright. Rivers is playing mistake-free football, and even if this was Colts minus a point and a half or minus 2, I would go with the Colts on this one. I don't agree with the move that it's moving in the direction that it's moving. I think that while the Steelers' defense is good, the way that the Colts play is actually a good matchup against the Steelers. It's that short dink and dunk kind of passing game, a little bit of running mixed in, the whole deal. It'll be a close game, but I think that the Colts have enough offense and Rivers plays enough mistake-free football to give them. Why, you don't agree?
No. How do people take the Colts here?
Because
Steelers at home?
They've watched the Steelers the last couple weeks. Pissed off. Yeah, but they just look bad, man. They don't look right. They look broken.
What does that mean? They look broken. They have a ton of talent across the board on both sides of the ball. A Hall of Fame quarterback and a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah, but I think Roethlisberger looks. I don't know if he's injured. He just his throwing mechanics look bad. He's not getting the ball to his receivers. They do have a lot of talent, right? And their running game is good, but their running game, it's like Connor and whatnot. The field opens up for them. You could tell like Connor gets more space when the receivers are looking good, and Roethlisberger is able to take the top off and throw deep ones, and Smith-Schuster gets involved, and Deontay Johnson gets involved, and for some reason he's not spreading the ball around. I watched the whole game last week, and he had open
teams
receivers.
Make adjustments, Cage. Isn't that on a team to make adjustments?
Yes, but if their quarterback can't get the ball down the field, you can't adjust. Like I think there might be like a shoulder injury. I think there might be something actually wrong with him that they're just not saying.
I think taking a team as talented as the Steelers on both sides of the ball. You mentioned some defensive injuries, so I'd love to hear more about them. But playing at Heinz Field has always been one of the hardest things to do. I like the Steelers here, man. So I'm on the other side. I apologize.
You don't have to apologize. It's fine. Obviously, really, the money is on the Steelers because the spread was the Colts were favored, and now the Steelers are favored. So obviously, money's coming in on them. But I guess look, we shall see. This is one, all things being equal.
I see a pretty split, 55-45 on our app.
On your money on the app. So all things being equal here, you look at the records, you look at the way these games have played, it's not like the Colts blow anybody out, right? The Colts have played a lot of close games, and the Colts seem to be a team that's always on the number. You talked about this last week, right? The Colts are favored by 3, and the Colts win by 3. It just seemed to be the Colts minus 3, the Colts minus 3. It seems to be the way they're doing, right? Last week, the Colts were favored by 7, and wouldn't you know, they won by 7. Like, the Colts have been like a push team. So I'm glad to see a half a point spread here because one way or another, there's going to be a win or a loss on this one. But yeah, it seems like the last couple weeks, the book has gotten it right with the Colts. If the book gets it right here, then the Steelers are going to sneak out with a small victory. Is what it seems like on this one here.
If you guys are on Cage's side here with the Colts, it's an amazing play to put into a teaser. This gets it all the way to 8, a one possession game, which in a playoff type atmosphere like this will be a game that potentially could go to overtime. A lot of field goals, good defenses. I think plus 8 is a great way to move this line. Let's keep it rocking because we're about 20 minutes in already.
Well, we were talking about teams that are on the number and don't really cover. So that'll roll me into the next game that I want to watch. And let's talk about the Falcons, a team that can't catch a break, right? Blow a massive lead against Tom Brady. I mean, go ahead and insert whatever joke you want here, right? Because who wasn't thinking of the Super Bowl when they had that huge halftime lead and Brady comes out in the second half and just destroys the Falcons again? It doesn't matter what jersey he's wearing, right? But how about a reward for the Falcons for that second half performance? They get to play against the Chiefs here. But here's my fun on the Chiefs. This is one of those games where I think if you watch what's been going on this season, the number looks right? The Chiefs are a dominant team. They score like crazy. They're killer. The Falcons look terrible. The Falcons are out of the playoffs. And, what are they playing for? 11. The Chiefs are going to win this one by 3 touchdowns. No, right? The Chiefs have won, I think it was like 6 straight games by 6 points or less. Like, this is just a team that does not really blow people out. And while I don't think that the Chiefs lose this game, obviously, I think that the Falcons are going to lose. But the Chiefs have played too many close games to take them as a double-digit favorite, right? They're basically in cruise control for the number 1 overall seed now. And I think Andy Reid's going to win without being too aggressive here. I think that's what the deal is. I think you're basically going to be looking at a Chiefs win, but not a Chiefs blowout. So I'm taking the 11 points here with the Falcons. Now, I know that Julio Jones is not playing. But I don't like.
I never understand why these big time wide receivers are always injured. Like Megatron as well. I feel like wide receivers, that one position that, like, if you could stay healthy, it would be wide receiver. But I'm with you, man. I'm with you. And in the NFL, 11-point spreads that's a lot of points, and the Falcons don't look bad at all. I'm with you on this side.
So last week we had, for the first time since before I was born, I think since 1972, you had 2 double-digit, two touchdown underdogs win outright, right? Right. You had the Jets and who was the other team? The Bengals in Monday night. So you had 2 huge underdogs actually win on the line. I'm not saying that Atlanta's going to win this game, but the Chiefs haven't beaten.
Here's what worries me though late in the season. It's so hard to know motivation.
Yes.
Well, and that's what's scary.
Also, the Chiefs could be up by 10 or 14 or 16, whatever it is in the fourth quarter, and the Andy Reid could pull everybody. Also you got to have game management here. You don't want to have Mahomes injured in a meaningless game. You don't want to have Tyreek Hill injured. They lost Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Hopefully he comes back. I don't know how serious his injury is. I'm sure, and you never know, right? I mean, when Carr went out last week with a groin injury, you thought he was done for the season too, and then there he was starting a week later. There's going to be a lot of that too, and I would imagine in the fourth quarter the Falcons will be playing against the Chiefs' backups, and there's always that that chance on, even if they are covering at a point in the game where that number comes back in under the 11.
Love it.
And let's roll right into the other big spread game of the week, right? And that's the Giants at the Ravens, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching this and it's coming down. When it was earlier in the week, it was like 45.5. The under on this game was one of those, like, I'm going to be stone cold locks. I haven't given one of those in a while, right? But it's, as I look for the betting line right now, as we record the morning of, it's 44. I mean, it's creeping down and down. I still probably think that comes in, but I don't want to call it my stone cold lock because the Ravens, you never know. They're a weird team. They can go out there and score 40 points themselves. So, the Giants, they're just basically built for unders, and that's why this number's coming down here. The Giants unders are like, I think they're like 11-3. Or this year. I mean, it's just crazy, right? I mean, it's their quarterback situation is crazy, right? I mean, it's just, I don't know which one of their quarterbacks gives them a better chance to win, but I know neither of those quarterbacks gives them a better chance to actually score a lot of points. I
love it.
And the flip side for the scoring, is the Giants' defense is actually really good against the run, right? Mm-hmm. And, I looked at their stats; they're 6th in yards per rush allowed, and look at the scoring, right? They scored 7 points. The Giants scored 7 points against Arizona, 6 points against Cleveland, and I mean, they're on the road in a tougher matchup than both of those games. I mean, I think I still, even though it's only 44 points, I think I still go with under 44 as my stone cold lock.
I see a 20-6 type of game. And you hoping that Danny Dimes throws that fourth quarter touchdown for a backdoor cover. But I'm absolutely with you on the under.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, right? I mean, the under comes in this. Now, the game itself, I think I see the Ravens probably taking this one also. If I got to give, a pick here, it's Ravens minus 9.5. And really, because like you said, I see the game 20-6, something like that. I don't see this game going, like a crazy. But I do see the Ravens scoring enough to cover that. I'm hoping to not get the backdoor cover. A fun game, would have been more fun if we still had Mr. Joe Burrow. The Bengals at the Texans, right? And the spread on this one is Bengals +7 at the Texans. It's a tough spot here for the Bengals, isn't it? Right? I mean, they came off of a game where it was, you want to call it like their Super Bowl. It was Ryan Finley's Disney movie game. Like he can basically, take that video out now, DVD, streaming. Wow, I'm old. Take the game film of that game against the Steelers last week, where the third string quarterback comes out, gives 110% effort, basically pulls a win out against the Steelers. Now they get a quick turnaround to play a meaningless game during holiday week. Do you really see the Bengals showing up here? They're basically being asked. The Vegas is basically saying, "All right, this is the week." People are like, "The Bengals are not that bad. Look, they just beat the Steelers. Go ahead and pick them up, right?" I don't see it. I don't see the Bengals showing up. I think they had their win and now they have their pride and they don't have to do anything else for the rest of the year. I see Deshaun Watson just killing the Bengals defense. That's 25th in net yards per pass attempt, and they only have 16 sacks on the year. It's one thing to go after a statue quarterback that doesn't look right in Ben Roethlisberger. It's another thing to go after a mobile quarterback in Deshaun Watson. They had a win last week, but do you know how many passing yards they had in the win against the Steelers? You probably don't, because why would you?
137.
78.
Wow.
And that is 6 straight games for them under 210 since they had their bye, right? So, obviously no Joe Burrow. It's a big deal. You would think that against the Texans, they're going to have to do a little bit more than that. I just don't expect them to keep up with Deshaun Watson. I think he's really good. If this game were 6.5, I'd be all over it. I think it's possible the Texans are up by 14 and you get a sneaky backdoor cover, but this would be one of my best bets of the week here. I think
Do you think Deshaun finishes the game though? You think he plays the full game?
I do. I think the Texans win this one pretty easily. It's you talk about a teaser. I would tease this one down to money line. Yeah, I never really do the teasers, but you have really taught me that if you're a bettor on these, go right ahead and do the teasers on this one. But this is one where I would tease the Colts getting 8 points, and I tease the Texans to money line, and feel pretty comfortable with my pick on that one.
Can I talk about that for just 2 seconds?
Yeah, please.
So we cap our own games, right? We have our own prediction, or this is what I think the score will be. But the sports books do as well, right? So what happens when you're betting? You're betting on the team, but you're also betting against the sports book, right? Because they're so good at setting those lines. When you tease something, you remove the sports book out of the equation. You take their model out of it, and you say this is who I think the team is, or this is who I think the better team is, or I think the line is so off. And you get the sports book out of the equation, and you just create the matchup of let's see how this game plays out. And I think that's huge because this game can end right on 7, right? These messy games in week 16, you have no idea what team's going to show up. You don't even know the players who are out there. Vegas more than likely does. And I love it. These are the games that you just tease down. You say the Texans are a better team with a better quarterback. I think they're going to end this game victorious, but I don't want to bet against that 7-point spread.
Yeah, listen, I still think that the Texans cover that 7. I think they probably win this one running away from the Bengals. But you're right. That 7-point spread, it's the dreaded 7, right? It's a number you want to get when you have a Super Bowl box pool, but it's not a number you want to see when you're betting, because it just seems like that's where they're going to fall. So same situation. I would almost say that these games they're close to mirror images, although the wrinkle here is the Browns, believe it or not, they actually have something to play for now.
Mm-hmm. Stefanski, coach of the year.
Yes, possibly Flores with the Dolphins if they make it. Also, if neither of those teams win the division, but they both get into the playoffs, as sort of surprise teams, making different kind of moves. Yes, You could say that both of them dealt with some stuff. I mean, Flores defense, really, really well coached team. Also moved to Tua, made the tough decisions when probably a lot of coaches wouldn't have. Went to Fitzpatrick to come from, and win this game. You could say that there's more coaching there. Obviously, the Browns lost Odell Beckham Jr., lost Chubb for a little part of the season. You could say, that coach obviously had to deal with some injuries. I would argue that the Browns have a lot more talent than the Dolphins do. They got Chubb versus Gaskin. They got Baker Mayfield versus Fitzmagic and Tua. I guess that's kind of close. They both
I
got
want to
good
talk
wide
about that.
Go ahead.
I think Stefanski has done an unbelievable job with Mayfield. He puts him in position to succeed. He lets him do his stuff. Because Mayfield he's an interesting cat, right? He's got a personality to him. He's supposed to show out a little bit. And I think Stefanski did a really good job with Mayfield this year, man. Mayfield would you put him in a top 7 quarterback in the league right now?
So I hope people bought some of his cards. The beginning of the year, episode 55, when we started talking about a little NFL preview, and Baker Mayfield was a play, right? I mean, buy his prison card. They're definitely going back up. But Mayfield is a perfect example, guys, of what we talk about with momentum. And I hope people do listen to this episode that are not just it's we're giving our betting plays out, and we give a lot of card stuff in here, a lot of fantasy stuff here as well. We talked about momentum, right? And it's a great word, and I think it applies really, really well in the sports card world more than anything else. Mayfield had a ton of momentum, in the very beginning when he was a rookie, that 2018 season and going into 2019. Mayfield had a huge amount of momentum, and his cards were huge. I remember going into my store and, one of my local card stores here, and someone had just pulled a cracked ice contenders auto rookie of him. And the store would tell everyone when they walked in, "Oh, somebody just pulled it. It's a $20,000 card out of a pack. We just pulled this card. It's Baker Mayfield, the hottest guy and the hottest product, cracked ice." And then 2019 happened, and he just wasn't that good. But now coming back in 2020, look at his team's a playoff team, and they're in the division hunt, and we're going to talk about that in a second when we get into this game. But does it matter for his cards? His cards are going back up a little bit, but they're nowhere near where they were at the end of 18 going into 19 when they just got Odell Beckham in, and people had all this high hopes for his team. They were going to be a playoff team, and instead they went like basically 500 last year. But they're a playoff team now. He's doing what everybody thought he was going to do just a year later. And if you look at his cards while they're picking up steam again, they are literally nowhere near where they were before. And a lot of that is the momentum, the money momentum has moved to other players. It's moved to Joe Burrow. It's moved to Tua. It's moved to Herbert. It's moved to, Mahomes never moved off of him. But I really do believe with the cards, once the money train stops, once the flow of money, once that momentum moves off of a guy, it's very difficult, even with success on the field, to move the money back towards that player. And you know who I'm going to compare him to for cards? Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray. He's definitely, Brett Favre's a great comparison for on the field, but I'm going to compare him to Kyler Murray in cardboard, right? Because Kyler last year had a very good rookie year. And then going into the second year, the cards went up. And wouldn't you know it, just the same as the Browns signed Odell Beckham Jr., the Cardinals went out and they got the best wide receiver. They got Hopkins in the offseason, and there was all this great fanfare and momentum and expectations and potential for Kyler Murray going into this year. And the team's going to finish basically 500. Which is, almost a mirror image of what happened with the Browns. A lot of people are jumping off the Kyler Murray, card momentum train. I think he's going to be fine. I think he'll probably have another good season next year. They'll probably build up a better offensive line, and he'll have another year under his belt. And he'll probably perform better next year than he did this year. But I don't think for cards he's ever going to regain that mojo, let's call it. You know what I mean? That momentum. It's interesting, man. It's just fun to think about that stuff because.
So I'm not going to pretend to be a football expert, but I do know one cardinal rule of football. If you want to win games, you have to win in the trenches, right?
That's true.
I think what Stefanski's done is build an amazing defensive line around Myles Garrett and an amazing offensive line. And if you look at Baker Mayfield, in his last 8 games, he's been sacked 7 times total. So I think that's a big deal. I think that's a huge deal. And we talk about that all the time, but I think we should talk about it more. A good offensive line is the key to a quarterback having potential success, right? Because you can have the best quarterback back there. You have a horrible offensive line, you're just going to get Joey Burrowed.
So I agree entirely. The trenches is all the NFL, right? If you don't have an offensive line, you're toast. And a good offensive line makes all the difference in the world. There's a difference between a quarterback staying in the league for 2 years and a quarterback staying in the league for 10 years. It really is. And
we give Derrick Henry a ton of credit, right? We give Tannehill a ton of credit. But doesn't that Titans offensive line really deserve a lot of the credit for the rushing titles 2 years back to back and Tannehill's success?
Yep. So, I mean, listen, that offensive line, they are unsung, but they get paid. They're, the NFL insiders know that is where you build a team. You build a team from an inside out. Any good GM builds.
So, are you calling us first. Insiders? Luca Nation, are you getting free insider information here on this Sunday morning? Insider.
Dude, I know your real name is William Hill. I understand. I know it's William Hill. You're not Andrew Goldberg. You're William Hill. So here's my fun on this one. Do you know where? The Browns have to play today.
Carmen Sandiego is.
No, you're Carmen Sandiego. You're Andrew Santiago Goldberg. You're always in a different spot, and you're gonna be a different spot again soon. So our listeners, we should have a giveaway if they can correctly pinpoint you on a satellite location map. So, do you know where Cleveland played this past Monday night?
No.
They played against the Giants, right? So they played against the Giants at, MetLife Stadium. And do you know where Cleveland's playing, after going back home for the holidays?
No.
They're coming back to play against the Jets in MetLife Stadium. Weird. I don't know who came up with the schedules for these guys, but that's not exactly fair, Cleveland. Big pain in the ass.
If we're going this route, I find it a little annoying that 2 New York teams play New Jersey. There you go. Take a sip. As a New Yorker, go ahead.
There's only one New York football team, the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Take that, New York City.
And they're rightfully reclaiming their right to dominance in that amazing state of New York. Because New York is amazing. You guys have so many resources, such a good economy. You're going to send your football teams to play in New Jersey? Get out. Disgraceful.
Yeah, there's no real, spot for a stadium in New York City proper, unless, they just take that to Central Park and just, play football in it, which would be pretty cool, I think. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. There were thoughts about building a Jet Stadium there if they got the Olympic bid, where we're going back a decade and change now, but it didn't happen. Browns are in the division race. I'm going to say something I cannot believe I'm going to say after if you put me back in my time machine and go a couple weeks back, I'm picking the Jets.
Oh my God!
Jets here.
Why?
I'm picking the Jets.
Why?
And because the Jets have not looked that bad. All right, they played well last week. They beat the Rams on the road. Cleveland's been traveling all over the place. It's a 7. It's a 7-point number. I like the Browns. I do, and I think the Browns are going to win this game. But for some reason, I just see this game going 21-17, 24-20. I just see a game where the Jets do enough to hang around. I'm not telling you the Jets are going to, be a touchdown underdog again and win the game. But I just don't. I see the Jets hanging around. I see the Jets playing. Could I see the Jets winning? What would be more Jets?
Jets will score less than 7 points in this game. Sam Darnold. This is why. This is Sam Darnold. This everything I believe in about Southern California kids. They're all for show. The reason the Jets won last game is where did they play that game? Where Sam Darnold went to college.
They played the game in California.
Exactly, in Southern California. Horrible, horrible season, and then he has one game in front of his fans where he grew up and sort of family and friends. Anyone could show up for that game. The Jets are dysfunctional. They're horrible, and they're going to get smacked. And I think
it's family and friends with it, man. It's COVID.
You know what I'm saying. Don't try to do that. I think it's a blessing that the line keeps going down and down because Browns have more receivers out. The Browns are just going to win this game on defense. And Baker is going to get 2 touchdowns, score 17-3, 20-3. Sorry, I had to hijack your play. I just hate the Jets.
I don't like the Jets either. I'm not a Jet fan. But this one here, I think I think the Jets keep it close, man. I don't think the Jets are going to win. I think the Jets keep it close. And it's fun. I mean, look, we don't have to agree on every one of these here. I will tell you that Pete Prisco, Will Brinson, Jared Dubin, Ryan Wilson, I mean, all these guys, your pros, they're with the Jets. Jason Leconfor is on the Browns. But a lot of people are picking the Jets today. So I'm not the only one out there on a limb. I know these guys.
I have no idea who those guys are. Can I tell you a fun stat about the Jets?
Yeah,
the
please.
Jets are the only team in the NFL to score on every first
possession. You know who Pete Prisco is? Really?
No, does he know who I am? No, I don't know who Pete Prisco is. He doesn't know who I am either. We've never met.
Yeah, but, Michael Jordan doesn't know who you are, but you know who he is.
He's the man. Jordan Jordan is the man. You're comparing Pete Prisco to.
You were a gambler. You gambled.
Yeah, but I don't follow other gamblers.
You were a gambling man. I like to know what other people are putting on. Although I will tell you, this game was more split than what most people are. This game is,
only psychopaths would put money on the Jets. But the Jets are the only team to score points on their opening drive of every game this season, and at the same time, they're the lowest scoring team in the NFL. How crazy!
It's pretty crazy. It's pretty nuts. I think they do it again today. So we have to find that timestamp there, because when the Jets don't lose by more than a touchdown, we have to get you only psychopaths put money on the Jets. I love it.
Yep. I'll FaceTime Pete Prisco and I'll say you were right, my good friend.
Today, I will be that psychopath. Take the Jets and the 7 points. I'm not telling you they'll win the game, but they don't have to win the game. It's 7 points, a lot of points. And the Jets have been that team this year where if you gave them enough points, they kept it close and made you look stupid if you went with the team laying all those points. That leaves us with one last talk about teams that make you look stupid. Both sides of this equation, teams that made us look stupid and made their fans look stupid. You got one last 1 o'clock game. Bears minus 8.5 at the Jags. Jaguars are in a great spot here. They're in a great spot to hold on to the number 1 overall pick in the 2021 draft.
How do you start Minshew in this game, though? Right, Minshew mania. They're going to pull him at halftime for sure. They're going to bring in who's the other guy? Glennon.
Yeah, well, the Glennon and Lutz, right? Is it the other guy's name? What's his name? You got
Ludwig.
Luton.
So who would you lay 8 points with the Bears on the road with Mitch Trubisky? They have looked a little bit better in recent weeks.
So it's 8.5 points, right? I don't want to cheat you on this, because you get very mad at me when I don't do this stuff. It's 8.5 points, but I still think I roll with the Bears minus the 8.5 points, even though the Jags have, they do have that tendency to keep games close, right? The Jaguars are terrible. The Bears, I mean, do we have a streakier team? A team that started 5-1, then lost a shit ton of games, and now they've won back-to-back games since their, they got their 6-game losing streak, and now they're winning again. They scored 30-plus points in all 3 games since Mitch Trubisky, who's going to be a Hall of Famer, just like Matthew Stafford, came back as a starter, right? And I just think this is one of those where you just don't overthink it. The Jaguars are terrible. The Bears are not spectacular, but they're significantly better than the Jaguars. They have some momentum on there. You can argue that the coach might be playing for his spot. The quarterback's playing for his spot. And I think this one here is just go with the Bears. I think you lay the points. I think the Bears score enough points here. I don't think the Jaguars do much at all. The Jaguars are playing to lose. They're playing to get their quarterback of the future. It seems like we say that every year with the Jaguars.
Paige, what if the NFL did something like this? And I have 3 questions here. What if they flexed the Jets and the Jaguars for Week 17?
I think it would be great, but we talked about this, and the first pick goes to the team that wins.
What's the spread on that game? Neutral field. Neutral. Play it in the Georgia Dome. Apparently you play everything at the Georgia Dome for some reason.
If they're playing right now, I think Jets minus 3. Just because the Jets have a little momentum. They got one win. They got momentum.
What's your prediction for that game?
My prediction for that game is, after playing in California, the Jets definitely win, because Sam Darnold's got to show out in front of his imaginary friends and family in an empty stadium. No, our prediction for that game is.
You don't even know where he went to college.
He went to USC. He's a product. Okay. He's a system quarterback. Of course, I know where.
You know where he grew up?
No, I don't know where he grew up, but I would imagine he grew up in California.
USC area, Los Angeles. Okay.
Listen, we talked about this in our last week episode where the USC quarterbacks are system quarterbacks, and I don't think any of them have ever really done well. We went to the Matt Leinart. We went through, Carson Palmer. USC has made some good running backs and some good wide receivers, but the quarterbacks just seem to kind of falter at the end of the day.
Well, they get him. He's from what's called Capistrano Beach or Capo Beach. How can you trust a quarterback that grew up on the beach? This guy needs to be amongst grown-ass big men. He grew up on the beach. They're always going to be soft.
Here's the thing,
no
man.
Chance.
You're the quarterback of our show, and you're always on the beach, and I trust you.
I didn't grow up on the beach. I grew up in the mud.
To me, it's the same kind of thing.
Not really the mud.
I'm trusting you, and you're the beachy quarterback.
I didn't grow up in the beach. I grew up in Philly.
There are no beaches in Philly.
There are some beaches in Philly.
No beaches in Philly, eh? So, but my deal, guy. Look, I'm not saying Darnold's going to go out there and throw 4 touchdowns and win. I can't believe going back to the Jets game. I'm just saying I don't think the Browns hold on to a touchdown lead when the whistle blows and the game's over. It's easy. I'm not saying the Jets are going to win. They're not going to the Super Bowl. I'm just saying I like the Jets getting a touchdown, and that moves us into the 4:00 games. This is a fun game. All right, Broncos at the Chargers. Broncos +3 at the Chargers. All right.
Drew Lock versus Herbert. Same record, too.
So, do I believe in the Chargers? No.
I love when you ask yourself questions.
Do I believe in Drew Lock in this game? Yes. I do. I believe in Drew Lock. I do. Listen, Denver already beat the Chargers earlier this year. Obviously, different game, different teams. LA went into the fourth quarter up 24-10 in that game and ended the game with Locke doing his weird little dance. You remember that game or no?
Yes, I do.
That seems like forever ago, right? Justin Herbert is Rookie of the Year. We got all kinds of fun stuff on this one. I like Drew Lock, but here's the fun. I like Drew Lock. I think he's no longer hobby relevant.
What if Jalen Hurts leads the Eagles to the playoffs?
Doesn't matter. He didn't play enough games.
Okay.
Can't give him the Rookie of the Year. It would have been hard to give Tua Rookie of the Year. When he didn't play the first 6 games.
I just wanted to bring it up.
But so I love these guys. I don't believe in the Chargers. I don't believe in these guys. But today, I picked the Chargers. I think Drew Lock's had his one decent December game, which is all he's going to get. Give me the Chargers plus the 3 points. This is one of those ones where, the Chargers minus the 3 points, right? So it's Broncos. This is one where I don't see the Broncos doing the same thing. I think the Chargers remember the way that game went. And the beginning of the season, the Chargers were that team that lost the lead. They didn't really know how to win. I think that they're getting better. I think that, every game Herbert gets under his belt, he gets better and figures out a way to be an NFL quarterback. And
do you think the same thing that applies for Anthony Lynn? Every game he loses and gives away. Does he get better?
You really like him. You really like. So, I don't like Anthony Lynn, and I think they were playing against, a legitimate contender. I would not bet them, but I don't believe in the Broncos. I like Drew Lock. I think he's fun. I don't believe in the Broncos as a team. I think the Chargers do enough here. And it's funny. I made a prediction.
Are you going Chargers or Broncos?
I'm going Chargers.
I feel like you picked both.
No. I said, obviously I don't believe in the Chargers themselves. I don't. But for this game, I think they do enough to cover that 3-point spread and beat the Broncos. But here's a fun one. If you go back to our NFL preview, I predicted that the rookie quarterback touchdown record would fall this year. Baker Mayfield's 27-28. I forget exactly what the thing was. I think it was 27 or 28. Would fall this year. But I predicted Burrow would be the one breaking it. And it turns out that it's going to be Herbert. The guy didn't even start the season. He's got 27 passing touchdowns. One more touchdown, he gets the record. So he's got 2 games to do it. I think today that rookie quarterback record falls. It's a record we could see fall, several times because it's not exactly, the game is passing now. And, 27 touchdowns in a season is not exactly, world-beating, record. But, interesting to see that come from Herbert. really just padding his, offensive rookie of the year resume here. But yeah, I think the Chargers do enough to win this game by more than 3. Panthers at Washington.
So let me share something with you. A friend texted me this screenshot, and he says the sports books, they're having record years, and this is a game they really need Carolina to win. Why, you ask? Because if Washington wins this game, they basically lock up the division, and the next week's game between the Eagles and the Cowboys is pointless. What do you think about that?
I like it, but I don't think that really matters, right? I mean, the sportsbook's going to get money. I love that Cowboys Eagles, and I hope that Washington loses too. I'm not a sports book, but I love the that game means something, hopefully, because I still want to go back and clip my prediction from week 6, week 7 when they were dead, and I'm saying, just trust me, the Cowboys are still going to win this division. I also said they were going to be 10-6, but I said the Cowboys win the division, and if they come back and win the division, there has to be a dozen episodes of me saying the Cowboys win the division. I can't wait to clip that if the Cowboys win the division and just play it a million times, because anybody who has listened to us knows that I've said that a million times. The fact
we're gonna get rid of our intro song, and it's gonna be Cage looping.
The fact that they have a shot to win the division is just crazy this late this season. So, I mean, I'll take that as a win. But here's my part on this one. You ready? I love betting Teddy Bridgewater as an underdog. All right? He seems to take care of bettors when he's an underdog, right? As a starter, his teams are 24-6 against the spread as an underdog. Now, if you're a betting person, talk about that number. If you go 24-6 against the spread, this season, the Panthers are 7-3 against the spread as dogs with Bridgewater. And 7-3, that's his worst single season performance against the spread as an underdog. Believe it or not. Let's go one step further, because I know you love these betting numbers, because we're trying to do like betting stuff, right? I know you love this stuff. Bridgewater's teams are 19-2. Yes, I said it, 19-2, including 6 straight covers this season against teams like the Saints, the Chiefs, and the Packers, just to name a few. Now, Washington is playing better, and they're in the driver's seat for the division, and they're playing, obviously, for something here, right? But are they as good as the Saints, the Chiefs, the Packers? If Bridgewater can cover against those guys, I think he's covering against Washington. Now, it's a different story here, right? Carolina is getting a point, which basically means I'm saying Carolina is going to win this game. I'm going with Carolina on this one. Give me the point.
You got
it. That's too much data. There's too much info there. There's too many numbers to throw out at you.
Is that noise you make? Is that computer processing power?
It's a neural net processor. My CPU is a neural net processor made by Cyberdyne Systems. Do you know what that's from?
Home Alone 1.
No, not Home Alone. Cyberdyne Systems, my neural net processor, my CPU. You think that's what Home Alone?
It's that little chip. It's the little chip that they put in the toy car.
Yeah, but you don't know what Cyberdyne Systems is? They're responsible for destroying the entire world on Judgment Day. Dude, you've never seen the Terminator movies? With Schwarzenegger? No. You've never seen any of the Terminator movies? Oh my God, you've lived a deprived life.
Because I don't let these sci-fi movies just populate my brain.
Terminator? You've never seen any of the Terminator movies?
Would you let your kids watch Terminator and then put them to sleep? How are they going to sleep? What do you think they're going to dream about? You're going to scare the living life out of them.
He would tell you the best Terminator movie is T2 Judgment Day with the Guns N' Roses soundtrack. He would come right in here right now and tell you that, because it's got great music. It's good. I don't even know what to say to you. I can't even look at you right now. Let's go.
Should we have a coffee with Ian and we'll poll and get questions from the audience? Ian's favorite movies, activities, Nintendo Switch games, since you bought him that.
Oh no, forget about the Switch. I know they put him down. I don't know what they're doing. I think Ian is now shooting his sister with a Nerf gun. I'm gonna have to check on that in a minute. But we don't have that many more games to go. We got the Rams +1 at the Seahawks. This is a fun one. This is a fun one. Do you remember back in
this
Week
is
10? The Rams actually beat the Seahawks back in Week 10, 23-16. The Rams defense was – go ahead.
Do you think the Rams loss to the Jets last week had something to do with a look ahead game because they knew this game would be for the division?
100%. Also, I think the NFL called down to the teams. You know, the NFL controls everything. Everything's fixed. All of football is fixed. And I think that the NFL did not want to have the embarrassment of Mr. Lawrence, John Lawrence of the Cobra Kai dojo, basically staying in school instead of going to the NFL. I think they called an audible here and they said to the Rams, you know, this is it. You got to let the Jets beat you because, you know, we got to let this Clemson kid go to Jacksonville instead of to the Jets.
Obviously, Cage is kidding. Nothing is rigged. I think
happened. It's all rigged. The whole thing's rigged. Life is rigged. But Rams give Russell Wilson fits. They picked him off twice, sacked him 3 times. And I don't think that's a one-off, right? Because the Rams have beat the hell out of Seattle under McVay. McVay seems to have, you know, Russell Wilson's number. 5-2 straight up against the Seahawks and 3-0 against the spread since the start of last season. And in those games against Seattle, LA is plus 58-point differential. Now you want to talk about Seattle. More recently, Seattle's 3-7 against the spread coming into Week 16 since starting 4-0 against the spread. So that's a team where at the beginning of the year, the Russell Wilson MVP chants and talk was really blustering, but not so good. 3-7 against the spread coming into Week 16.
It's going to be such an exciting matchup. DK versus Jalen Ramsey. I love good wide receiver cornerback matchups.
I like it too. The Rams are a team that does not play 2 bad games. They're 4-0 this year following 4 against the spread losses. So when they lose against the spread, they win against the spread the following week. This is one of those games where all the analytics, all the numbers, everything tells you that this is the Rams. It's Rams plus a point. So give me the Rams plus 1 on the road. This game means a lot here, right? I mean, this is a huge game, right? I mean, this is I don't think Russell Wilson is even in the MVP discussion anymore. But a lot of the fun around Week 5, Week 6, when people talk about him as the MVP was, can you believe Russell Wilson never even got an MVP vote? Well, that's going to change this year. If the Rams beat him today, is it possible he doesn't get an MVP vote again? Do we go back to, you know, it's going to be all the votes go in there for Mahomes and Rodgers, and there's nothing left over for my friend Russell Wilson again?
Well, if he loses today at home, I would argue he doesn't deserve an MVP vote.
I agree.
As Cage finishes his 2-liter of Diet Pepsi.
We only have 2 games left, so I'm all right. 2 liters down. That's, you know, it's a whole episode. We go 2 liters.
What's the deal with that? Like, some days you're Diet Pepsi, some days Dr. Pepper, some days Diet Coke. No loyalty here?
So there is a scientific method to this. It's when I go to the store, whichever brand is $3 for $5 on sale, that's what I go with.
Wow. What a weird way to save some money.
Whatever. Well, listen, you drink as many 2-liter bottles of soda as I do. You gotta save where you can. You gotta save. No, I mean, I when I find the wild cherry Diet Pepsi, that I'll take right there. So you see, it's a wild cherry Diet. So it's chemicals on top of chemicals.
How does your wife allow this?
Well, there's a lot of ways.
So much.
A lot of ways to answer that question.
Soda. That we should not get into.
How do you allow it?
Well, doesn't she? What I mean is, doesn't she want you around to raise the kids? Because
no, I have good life insurance. She'd actually prefer I drink another bottle of this, and the money comes flowing. So we got the last 4:00 game, right? and we talked about it. Eagles or Cowboys? Eagles or Cowboys, right?
We know where you're at on this one.
You know what I'm going to say about the Cowboys? They were my preseason pick to win the division. And I decided that I'm going to ride that train until it crashes. which means gotta pick them here. And I know you're an Eagles guy. I know you're born and raised on the beaches of Philadelphia. And you know what's funny?
Luca Nation, we're going to do a little giveaway here, by the way. So if the Cowboys do win, Cage, do you think I should give away a card or you should give away a card? If the Eagles win.
If the Cowboys win the division, I'm going to give a card. I'm going to give away a lot of stuff because I'm going to look like a genius.
Eagles win, I'll give away a card.
So have you ever let a balloon up, like a hot air balloon, like a helium balloon? You ever let a balloon up into the sky? You know what happens after a while? It comes down. It might not come back down right on your lawn, right where it got released. It comes down. Have you ever hear the saying, right? What goes up must come down. It happens with rookie quarterbacks. It just does, right? And
Andy Dalton isn't a rookie. He's been in the league for 33 years. And still throws picks.
Today's helium balloon, Jalen Hurts. Playing out of his mind, right? But, if you've noticed one thing about those rookie quarterbacks, don't they come back down to earth? And isn't it the Hollywood story? The Jets beat the Rams. Alex Smith comes back and wins a game. Fitzmagic comes back and beats the Raiders, and all these Hollywood endings. Wouldn't it just be the stuff of movies if Jalen Hurts comes back down to being a human against their hated division rival Cowboys and allow
Did you work as a screenwriter in Hollywood before this? You know how to write a really compelling script.
I mean, it's definitely fun, right? I mean, it's that moment here. I mean, Jalen Hurts has looked great, and I hope that everybody who has invested their money into Jalen Hurts over the last 2 weeks, where he's become Johnny Unitas and valued like Mahomes.
Boys like Warren Moon.
Hope you're careful. I hope you're careful with the Jalen Hurts. I hope you don't get Hurts. But this is just one of those where, come on. I don't love the Cowboys. I don't. I just thought that with as bad as this division was going to be, that this was their division. Obviously, you can't predict injuries. You can't predict this stuff. But I will give you this. Having to root for the Cowboys this year has been painful for me. It has just been a horrible, horrible ride because there's so much anxiety with the Cowboys, right? And it's not just Dak. I mean, what is the deal with Ezekiel Elliott? I thought he was supposed to be one of the best running backs in the league. When he's healthy, he doesn't look that good.
He's not that hungry anymore. He's well fed.
I guess that's what it is, right? I mean, it's like what Apollo said to Rocky. You just don't have that eye of the tiger anymore. You lost that eye of the tiger. There's a Philly movie for you. You gotta get that. You gotta get that eye of the tiger back, Rock.
Can I tell you? I'm a little surprised by this line. I think it should be Cowboys -3.
I think it's a gift. Give me my 3 points. Give me my Cowboys.
Don't you agree though, Cage? Look at the teams. Like, how can you justify the Eagles on the road with a rookie quarterback with an average wide receiving core at best to give 3 points to the Cowboys? I feel like the Cowboys are a much more talented team.
I look at these games and I try to think I did a little exercise this year. I'm 16 weeks into it, but when I do these games, right, I say to myself, okay, don't look at the spread and try to think what I would put the spread at myself.
I thought you meant you actually exercised for the first time on December 26th.
What the hell's wrong with you? So I do these games, right, and I say, all right, if I was setting the spread, what would the spread be? And then I look at the actual spread and I say, which one's so far away from where I would put it? Those are my games. Those are the first ones that I pencil in, right? I mean, that just makes sense, right? A lot of them seem to fall close to what I think they would be. This game was not one of them. I had the Cowboys -3 here, not +3. So this was one. Yeah, this was one that I said, all right, I would favor the Cowboys here. They're home.
What do you see on the Eagles team that would suggest that? Like, where do you think that they're better than the Cowboys?
No, I'm saying Cowboys -3 was what I said.
Oh, okay.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that
strange way to agree, but okay.
That's the Cowboys -3 was what I put it at, but the Cowboys +3 makes it pretty easy for me. I think the Cowboys should be favored here. It's Andy Dalton against right now all people have seen from Jalen Hurts is great stuff. I mean, what does he have? 150 rushing yards and 500 passing yards and a bunch of touchdowns, and he hasn't made any mistakes, and he looks mobile, and he looks accurate, and he looks all these fun things, right? And it's not like the Cowboys are a world beater defense, right? He's not facing, an opportunistic defense here. I just think the Cowboys are playing a little bit better. I think they're actually, better with the kid Pollard in the backfield. He's got the eye of the tiger. He's a hungry runner. Dalton looked decent enough last week. They're playing, it's funny. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the game actually means something, right? We talked about other teams here who have 7 or 8 wins and their games are meaningless. He had a game here with teams with 4 or 5 wins, and they basically could be playing for the division, depending on what happens in Washington. Yeah, go ahead.
So let's say Washington does beat Carolina. How, if at all, does it change or impact this game from a betting standpoint and just from your kind of overall standpoint?
Well, they're both 4:00 games, right?
Are they really?
Yeah, they're both 4:00 games today.
Okay.
So it's not like you can change it anyway, right? I think they're both 4:00 games. So, the betting strategy doesn't really but to your point, even if one was a 1:00 game and the other was a 4:00 game, it wouldn't make a difference anyway. These two teams hate each other. Even if they were both, 2 and 12 going into the game today, or 2 and 12 because of week 16, they would both be trying to win this game, and this is a hated division rival here. So it's not like, obviously the division thing throws something else in there, right? But these are two teams that are going to be playing to win here. Andy Dalton is playing for his future. He's playing for a contract. He's playing for maybe somebody gives him a starting spot next year. He's playing for his value going into next season. Jalen Hurts is playing for a starting job. I mean, I think he basically has it. But if he throws up a stinker here, the Eagles have enough money in Wentz, where I'm sure the ownership doesn't want to eat that money. I'm sure they're not sitting there in their office saying, please, Eagles, go out and lose. Hurts throw 4 interceptions so we can get Carson Wentz back in there. I think Hurts gives him the better shot to win, but he still has to play. He still has to show that he's not a 2-week fluke. After week 1, Gardner Minshew and the Jaguars looked like they were going to win the Super Bowl. They haven't won a game since, but 1 or 2 weeks does not, make a whole deal. Where, just to go off on a tangent before we hit our last 8:00 game, it's the exact same thing with the NBA, guys. And if you happen to listen to us for an hour now and you stayed with us for this hour-long football episode and you're one of our card guys, do me a favor and don't go out this morning and spend top dollar on Ja Morant after 2 games, right? In fact, if you're holding his cards, go sell them now. His cards may be more expensive than they ever will be in his entire career today. He had all that preseason hype. He's had 2 spectacular games, and the cards went up like 25%. He's a guy who's got Brandon Clark coming off of an injury.
100%.
No Jaren Jackson Jr. Somebody's got to score. The team is losing. It's not like the team's winning with him scoring all these points. So it's the same scenario, right? Jalen Hurts' cards have gone, through the roof. And you like to compare, right? Jalen Horton Tucker. Jalen Hurts, Talon Hurts, Talon. Do the chickens have large talons? That was your guy, right? And everybody went crazy, talking about THT and what's going to happen. Well, guess what? Has he even scored? I mean, just be careful with that. The craziness
guys,
that happens in the sport.
Maybe Luca Nation could help me with this clip, but I brought this up a few weeks ago to you guys, and I'm a big Ja Morant fan. I love watching him at Murray State. This team a little bit reminds me of his Murray State team because he carried them on his back. One, he's going to run out of gas because his usage is through the roof. He kind of reminds me of the young Russell Westbrook. But 2, I told you guys this when his cards was 450 to 500, that him being at a discount to Zion was insanity. And here we see it corrected. But you're absolutely right, Cage. $1,000 for his Prism PSA 10 for a team that's not going to make the playoffs is extremely high. And even if this card goes to 1250, you're never going to be able to find the top. And yeah, I'll tell you, I sold my Prism.
I only own one, and I'm going to be selling it. So, I put my money where my mouth is on it.
Selling it doesn't mean we don't believe in him, by the way. Selling doesn't mean you don't believe in someone. It just means that you could take it away, but selling something does not mean you don't believe in the player. I think that's an important nuance.
Well, I mean, listen, just to bring it back to football, right? I mean, what I'm saying is it's perfection. It is all that momentum thing. It's a big word for us here. Hurts has momentum. He had momentum after game 1. I think people weren't exactly sure whether or not they should put money into him, and then all of a sudden, game 2, he does well, and people just started pouring money into his cards, and the prices are crazy for his stuff. And you just have to be careful, because I think he loses today, and all of a sudden, the card value could literally drop in half. Right? It's the same thing. You got $1,000 for John Morant's cards. If he goes out there in his next game, he only scores 12 points or 8 points or whatever it is. He has a human game where he plays a better defense. The card can fall 30-40%. It's very tough for me to see these swings in these cards. And for John Morant's card to stay where it is or continue to go up, he literally has to score 40 points a game every game. And it's not going to happen. So anyway, be careful. I just think of that when we're talking about Jalen Hurts. He will come back down to earth. He's a rookie quarterback, guys, with 2 games under him. So I just like the Cowboys. I like the Cowboys giving it 3 points. That leaves us for just our Sunday night game. It's the Titans at the Packers. A fun game, a nice game to cap off this crazy sport weekend here. And I like it. I mean, I like this game. What do you think? What do you think on this one? Because I am a Packers better on this one. Packers -3. I love the Titans. I do. I love the Titans. I love Derrick Henry. I think he's a sneaky play for MVP. I like he's going to get 2,000 rushing yards. Sneaky still has an outside shot of that. Not that he hurt his chances last week with 150, 160 yards that he had last week, right?
He had 150, I think, through halftime or something around there. I just was surprised that they didn't give him the ball more, because I thought for sure he was getting 250 last week. So, I like the over here, Cage. But I don't know. It's a tough game. Some games are just stay away games. Maybe this is like Titans plus 9.5 on a second leg of a teaser, but this to me is a stay away game that I just want to enjoy and watch. These teams are tough to cap because I don't know. There's just so many good matchups here, and you don't know which way they're going to fold. You don't know the game plan. You don't know if they're going to feed Derrick Henry or they're going to come out throwing the ball. You don't know if Rodgers playing for behind. So I'm interested for your take. I'm laying off.
So I go with Rodgers. I go with Rodgers having another great game. I go with the Rodgers, having the MVP real performance here, because the Mahomes, one of their talking points for Mahomes versus Rodgers is that Mahomes had a tougher strength of schedule. Mahomes, played better teams, and that Mahomes, was better against better teams. Well, this is a good team. Green Bay's got to play against a good team here, and you're going to see whether or not you got a legitimate contender in Green Bay or they are a pretender. And I think Rodgers knows that. I mean, I think he's acutely aware of what's going on. I love the over here, by the way. Also, I think that's a great play on the game. I think it's going to be high scoring. I like the play. I think that comes in pretty easily. But this is a game where I don't think Rodgers makes mistakes. I think Henry has another great game. I do. I think it's a lot of scoring, but I think Rodgers, scores a bunch of touchdowns. Might get another rushing touchdown. I think this is where he puts the cap on his MVP today. It's a night game. It's a televised game. You got everybody watching. The game matters for them more than it matters for the Chiefs. I think Chiefs will be in cruise control. I don't think Mahomes has to really do too much in his game early in the day against the Falcons. Whereas I think Rodgers has to play his best game for them to win. And I think Green Bay -3 it's funny. I tell you, I put the spreads. This is exactly what I put it at. I said Green Bay -2.5 on this one when I wrote down my spreads before I looked at the spreads. So this is, one of those that's spot on, where I thought it would be. Could I see Tennessee winning? Sure. I mean, I love Derrick Henry. I love him in the third and fourth quarter. He just beats these guys up, and if a game is close, he wears the other team down. This is just one of those weird seasons for Rodgers. I could see the Packers winning Super Bowl. They were not an early pick for me. I mean, he's just having one of those type of years, right? And I would love to see Green Bay against Kansas City in the Super Bowl. I'd love to see a head-to-head Mahomes against Rodgers Super Bowl game, and then just give whoever wins the game the MVP. I'd love that too, right? That would be a cool way of deciding as well. This one here, I have Green Bay. I'm with you though. It's one where I haven't done it yet, but if you gave me the veto power, you gave me the pass. This is a fun one to pass because I would love to not have money on one side and instead bet on the over and just watch the two offenses go back and forth. Watch Derrick Henry break one for 60 yards and then Rodgers get the ball and throw it down the field for 60 yards and then Tunyon catch a pass for a touchdown. And, I could see this one going back and forth with a lot of scoring.
I love it. So there you guys have it.
There's our games for the day. What do you have in store for you today, man?
If you guys stay till the end, there's 3 NBA games I really like. Okay?
Yeah, let's talk.
I think Clippers -5 versus the Mavs. I love following trends, and I just think the Mavs are going to I think the Mavs are going to start 0-3. I don't think they have a lot of talent, but I think the Clippers are going to start 3-0 against the spread. I love the Pacers money line today versus the Celtics. I think the Pacers are on a mission. They're as deep a team as you'll find, and that's really important to win early regular season games when you're not going to see guys playing 45 Celtics today. And this is going to surprise you, but I like the Timberwolves a lot today versus the Lakers, and I actually think they're going to beat the Lakers today.
Wow. I have a pick for people in the NBA also. I think it's the lockable locks of the day, and I hate them. But take it for somebody who sees where it's coming from.
Nets versus the Hornets.
Lay the 10 points. There is
Dude, your
no
Hornets
way.
are not bad.
No way the Hornets keep this within 10. There's no way.
They might win. They might win.
No, the Nets are going to win this game by 30. The Nets are going to be up by 45 points.
You don't watch enough NBA. Motivation, man. Think about it. The Nets came out, they blew out 2 teams, and now they're going to go play the lowly Hornets. The Hornets are 0-2 and pissed off. I'm telling you, brother.
There are people out there who are pleased with the regular season accolades. Kyrie Irving is one of them. Kevin Durant's one of them. The Nets guys, you know what they remind me of? They remind me of the regular season champs. They remind me of that college football team that can tell you, hey, I won the regular season, and it doesn't matter what happens in the postseason. It doesn't matter what happens there. I was the best team in the regular season. And you know what they're doing now? They're sitting there and they're burning sage, and they're talking about how they're the greatest players in the history of the world because they just came out there and they were the first team in a long time to win the first 2 games by 25. And they're sitting around the locker room reading their headlines about the most irrelevant stat in the world because a win is a win, whether it's a win by 1 point or 25 points. But you know what they're doing? I guarantee you, they get to the locker room today, and maybe he's burning rosemary today. Maybe he's burning some garlic salt. I don't know what he's going to burn, Kyrie Irving, today, right? I don't know. But one thing for sure.
Obviously think he's going to burn Devontae Graham off the dribble.
So he is. He's going to kill them off the dribble. Listen to me. They're sitting around going, you know what would be great? You know what would show everyone that we're the greatest on earth? You know what would show everyone that Kevin Durant's as good as Gary Vee says he is? Let's go out and win a third game by more than 25 points. Because to the world, nobody gives a shit. But those idiots are actually sitting there thinking that. I guarantee you, Kyrie and Kevin Durant are in the locker room today having this conversation while they burn twigs of dillweed.
This is why Cage brings you NFL plays.
So I guarantee they're sitting there going, oh, you know what? Let's win this game by 25. And then we'll be the first team ever. That'll show everyone that we're the best NBA team ever. We're the only ones that ever started off a season winning the first 3 games more than 25 points. That'll shut them up. That'll show you how great we are. I guarantee that's happening. Guarantee.
Right,
and they're going to do it. Watch.
He's guaranteed.
That's a guarantee in it. And they will. Because the Hornets are terrible. The Hornets are terrible. They're terrible. They do not play defense. They're a horrible team. When the three-pointer falls for them, depending on who's shooting, I mean, Miles Bridges all of a sudden became a three-point shooter last night. Yeah. He scored 9 points in 20 seconds. They were down 102 to 93, and the next thing you know, a minute later, they tied the game up. But then they played no defense. I mean, come on, the Thunder are one of the worst teams in the league, and the Hornets lost to them. Thunder has no talent left.
I will say I was extremely surprised, given this is the starting lineup of the Thunder: Baisley, Dort, George Hill, SGA, and Horford. To beat a Hornets team that people expect to take the next step up, that was surprising. I texted you that because the Hornets were at home. They should be a team that's meshed. They know each other. They've been playing together for the last year and a half, versus an OKC team that was decimated and just getting to know each other, and to lose at home. That was no good. That was pretty embarrassing, in my opinion.
It's not. They were really never in the game. The Hornets were really never in the game. I mean, the final score will tell you a different story, but they were never in the game, and that they made a run at the end, and then they fall short. It's one of those moral victories. Another word for moral victory is right, a loss. And that's against a bad team. The Nets are not a bad team. And I'm telling you, man, Kyrie wants to win another game by 25 because that's going to show the world that he's better than LeBron. LeBron, you can have
is it that center position? Is it Biyombo that's just not cutting it? Like, where's the Hornets' weakness?
Well, their starting center is Baisley. I mean, their starting center Baisley. Their starting center is
Biyombo.
No, their starting center is Cody Zeller, and he broke a bone in his hand in the second game, so they lost him for 4 weeks. Biyombo's short. He's not their starter. He's a backup now, but they were weak at center beforehand, and that was why it was such a huge thing. I was hoping they were going to get Wiseman, and they were one pick too late on Wiseman. They wound up with Ball, which just doesn't really fit. And that guy, you talk about a Gemini, hot and cold. One game he's 0 points, another game he's heating it up. They have talent. They just don't have cohesive play. They don't play well together. It's just the weirdest thing in the world. I think a lot of that is because the team doesn't know who's playing when and what's going to happen, right. And they still don't have who's going to fit in where. I think that they start off with Rozier and Graham, and then but everybody's expecting LaMelo Ball is going to take one of their jobs. You don't know which one yet. So those guys
they're a relatively short team too. If you kind of look at them,
they're very short.
They're probably the shortest team across the board.
I saw it yesterday. I forget who it was. One of the guys on the Thunder, because their team, it looks like a rec team. I don't even know half their guys, but at one point they missed a shot and a rebound came, and it was Biyombo and Graham against one guy on the Thunder, and it was one of those weird you don't see it in the NBA where Graham and the guy from the Thunder both jumped 3 different times to try to tip the ball. But Graham's not getting a rebound over anybody, unless he's by himself. And they knocked the ball out of bounds. And I'm like, wow, this team, they cannot rebound. They give up way too many second chance opportunities. Jared Allen may have 25 rebounds today if the Nets miss enough.
Right.
The only thing stopping them.
And then if Jared Allen's out, you bring in DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, they just listen. There was a glaring hole in the middle of the defense for the Hornets. I don't think they can stop anyone from scoring. Anyone, And Rozier's a decent defender, but he gets matched up against Kyrie. Forget about it. He's going to eat his lunch. I love your picks, but you know me. I'm a Hornets guy. I watch the Hornets. I watch every play of the Hornets. I watched all 4 of their preseason games. I watched both of their games. It's going to be bad. The Nets might be up by 30 in the third quarter. So it's going to be a bad game.
A little bit of a longer episode today, Luca Nation, but we love you guys. Sometimes we can't even get off these Zoom calls because we've got so much to share with you. We appreciate all the support. We appreciate all the feedback. Hope you're enjoying the holiday break. And guys, we're back at it tomorrow. We've been a little bit lower key on Instagram posting, but we're back at it tomorrow. And Paige, unless you have some final words or wisdom or insight.
If you're listening to this one, guys, and you haven't signed up for Star Stock yet, Luca Nation is our code. If you deposit at least $5, they will give you $10 to play. Obviously, Football Sunday is a great day to get into Star Stock. Make a bet on a player today, pick up some of his cards cheap, and he winds up scoring 2 or 3 touchdowns, and you're
give him a little bit of a use case of how you've made a little bit of money on Star Stock.
So before the season, I bought some Dwayne Bacon cards. Believe it or not, I told you guys buy some Dwayne Bacon. I bought some Dwayne Bacon cards for $0.25, 50 cents, Star Stock A's, and he was inserted into the starting lineup. And cards that I was buying for $1. I relisted for $3.99, $4.99, and people have bought them. Even though
no taxes, no shipping, just transfer of ownership.
Yeah, I've never touched the card. I bought it from somebody else, and it stayed in the Star Stock vault. I have ownership transferred to me, and then moved over. on the Thursday night game. Now, this didn't go. Obviously, I would have liked to have seen Mariota for personal reasons, just because I want to see what we have there. But in the Thursday night game last week, when Mariota came in, I bought a couple of Mariota cards and sold them during the game. When he was bowling out, same game. So yeah, you could definitely do that. We're going to do an episode this week about the Star Stock platform, what's going on, what's hot, what's going on there. So if you happen to be listening to this, and we'll put a post up on Instagram also, just like the Coffee with Cage episode, we'd love to hear your questions. We'd love to hear your thoughts about Star Stock, So if you're listening to this and you're on the platform, let us know what your thoughts are about it. Let us know some questions you have, some ideas. If there are pain points, things you like, things that you have a suggestion, let us know. Let us know where you're playing. What are you putting your money in there? Questions on it. Same thing if you don't have an account. What are your questions about it that are preventing you from signing up for it? So, I don't understand how it works, or, I have questions about it before I sign up and deposit. Ask us. Let us know what it is. We'll get you the answers, and we'll make sure we put it into our episode too, because if you have that question, somebody else has the question as well. And you'll help out the whole community by asking it, and we'll make sure we get the answer for you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Enjoy the games.
Thank you for spending some time with us on another episode of the Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze Oh My podcast. Do us a favor and like, subscribe. You know what? Don't just like and subscribe. Everybody does that. If you like us, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, tell everybody. And we hope you got something from spending some time with us today, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.